It is so good to see you, Jeff. I know that it's 32 inches where you are, so hopefully you'll get some good vibes and some French toast this morning.
Yeah, 32 inches of snow in a day. It's like crazy. You know, it's I know we're here to talk about vCons and who cares about winter storms, but let me tell you, in the Northeast, we got slammed. And the reason we're talking about French toast is a friend of mine shared an email from his friend that spoke about this double French toast winter storm coming. And it's like, double French toast winter storm? What are you talking about? Well, the point is that if you ever see footage about incoming storms and people running to the supermarket, what are they buying usually? They're buying eggs, they're buying bread, they're buying milk. And it's like, what do you make with eggs, bread, and milk? French toast. So this was such a snowstorm. It's a double French toast snowstorm. And let me tell you, I don't recall ever being anywhere where 32 inches of snow was recorded. And according to my iPhone, which is maybe not the truth because there's no vCon and no trust and no vCon there. And you know, I wasn't vConning with the with the weather channel, so I don't know. But it seems to be recorded 32 inches of snow in 24 hours here in the Northeast, and that's crazy. So whoever's tuning in, I hope all of you are well. That if you don't have electricity, maybe you're not watching this live, but I do hope that no one you know has been affected. It's a scary thing. I mean, we were going to get an ice storm and at times, and just was all snow. But you got to be careful. But it's a wonderful time to catch up about the vCon revolution. And last week, I'm giving a shout out to the CCA. I have to say that I'm quite grateful to Joe Marion and the entire team at Cloud Connections. It was a wonderful event. I've been there. I've been to the events before. It's the first time I was invited to speak, and so happy to be on the inaugural conversation about vCons. I really enjoyed listening to Dag Peak and John Britton talk. Dag's with Alianza and John's with Crescendo, and it was validation that vCons are getting real and realer from the service provider side. And to paraphrase what I spoke about, I just found myself catching. I usually don't remember anything that I say when I speak. I just let it flow. But there was this moment when I was talking, and I felt like, since the 90s, I like being a rock star. It's great people come to the concerts, but all they want to hear are my old songs. And I play it because people want to buy a ticket. I'll sing them the old songs because that's what they want. They didn't want my new material. But for the first time in a very long time, it feels like I have a new song charting on the Billboard 100, and it's called vCon. And so now, out of the blue, we're relevant again, and it's really cool. The vCon Foundation is a not-for-profit based in Washington, D.C. And last week, I'm very happy to say that both Grandstream and Crescendo joined, and that they joined vConic and J-Link. And so our membership is growing. This week on Thursday is a virtual member meeting. We're going to be talking about vCons and talking about the evangelizing it. And here today we're talking about using vCons to replace compliance costs, and it's true. And in fact, one of the most fascinating parts I find with vCons is that it was built from the ground up to be regulatory compliant and to facilitate compliance in different regulatory domains, whether you're operating in the EU with GDPR, whether in the US with absolutely crazy AI laws that are evolving. You're in certain countries where you have to maintain, domicile the data in Germany, domicile the data in Australia. There's a lot we can do. I mean, the vCon part architecture absolutely offers the ability to manage consent with purpose, withdraw consent. And so that comes with the territory when you are in the vCon architecture side of things. And just to pull back a little bit, though, it was really nice to see the industry, the cloud computing industry embracing vCons and embracing AI. And that's a positive. One of the comments that a few people had, which I find fascinating, is that they were complaining that people were not explaining the great killer apps that they were doing with the vCons. And while I did share a few ideas, because I consulted on a few engagements myself in the past year, I realized it's because the people on stage and the people in the audience that are doing the vCons, while they have camaraderie, they're friends of their competitors. They don't necessarily want to reveal what
Right.
they're working on because they want to have that competitive edge, or maybe they had not released it. Now, but there was some good demos even, and then at the end of the conference there was a company that demonstrated, I think ECG, they were demonstrating something really cool with call recording. So
Yeah.
I think we'll see companies coming out demonstrating their applications, showing, getting to the wow, which leads me to Dallas. We're going to be hosting the spring 26 vCon event in Dallas, March 23rd to the 26th. We're kicking it off on the first day with a vCon hackathon, together with a couple of tutorials, one on vCons, which I'm hosting, another one on AI in business, which my friend Joe Mazzio is doing. And then the core content is going to be in the next 2 days. And on Thursday, the 26th of March, is going to be the vCon Foundation meeting. It's going to be a private meeting first for the vCon members. And then it's an open meeting for recruiting new members, which leads me to IT Expo, because looking at my list of events for the vCon Foundation this year, we kick things off at CCA. We're going to be heading to warm Fort Lauderdale, which is the snow in the Northeast. It better be warm. If it's snowing in Fort Lauderdale after the Super Bowl, there's going to be some challenges, I'm sure, but we'll assume not. So we have, I'm grateful to Rich Tarani and the team at IT Expo for offering the vCon Foundation a booth on the show floor. We will be there in force.
You're also speaking too.
I'm speaking at 3 sessions that I'm speaking at. One of them about vCons, and then I believe we're going to do a vCon meet. There's an opportunity for us to have a vCon meetup on site at IT Expo. The date and time is still being confirmed. And then we're going to do a new member recruiting session on Thursday morning that week. More details, you could find that. It will be on the vCon Foundation site, as well as at pulver.com. And but that's going to be on that Thursday. And it's going to be, I think, a fun time of communications, because we're no longer in that same old time. But things are different now. The world of AI and communication is evolving, and so are we, because it's sort of like one of those moments where if we don't embrace it, what happens? And so we're embracing, and we're going to lead and offer great opportunities for people who want to get involved with AI, build meaningful messaging applications and insights. I mean, at the end of the day, at some level, it's about conversational intelligence. I mean, a lot of people who do call recordings for call centers, they'll tell you it's about conversational intelligence, but it's a lot more there. But it's, if you just think about it, that up until now, we talk, we text, we message, but it all comes on to, whether you're texting someone or emailing someone, our brains make us believe that we just spoke to them. And I remember it was in 1999, which was years ago, but I was curating our Spring 2000 conference, and I was in my office talking to one of our speaker coordinators, and I asked if they had spoken to a certain person, and they said yes. I said, how did the conversation go? And then they told me, well, it came out that they were texting them, not talking to them. And I said, what do you mean you're texting them? Yeah, no, I got them on text. I said, oh, because they apparently were not able to talk on the phone because they were in a meeting, but they were texting. That was the first time I remember anybody associating messaging with talking. Maybe it's TAWK talking, just talking, it's talking, being talking. But it's the whole idea that in our minds, if our minds are the ones that bring together the conversations, and that's where the memory of the conversation takes place, and we don't always discern whether it was an actual phone conversation, a video chat, whether it was an email or a text. It just was that Charlene and Jeff spoke, right? But we don't know we don't always think about the transport. It's like, when I'm speaking to you on the telephone, does it matter whether we're going over broadband or over satellite or over Wi-Fi? No, because at the end of the day, we just spoke. Now, of course, there are multiple ways to get there, and a lot of people do care about how the conversations travel. But from the vCon's perspective, what we have the opportunity to do is to capture the conversation, verify and validate it, and then facilitate consent. It was a little more than a year ago. I was in Dublin attending the beginning of the IETF meeting then, and it was, I guess it was November of 24. And the crazy part for me is we hosted a vCon meetup in Dublin while the IETF was going on, and we had a gentleman from one of the largest call centers in Europe who joined us. And he was
Wow.
quite embracing the idea about vCons and about compliance. But at the end of the meeting, he privately came up to me and he said, Jeff, I came here happy. I'm leaving here a little bit annoyed. I said, why? He said, well, until this meeting, whenever the EU came to us and told us about their compliance for managing consent and consent with purpose with our customers, we told them there was no technology available to let us do that. But now that you're doing this, now that vCons exist, we can no longer say that.
Right.
And
that's where the rubber meets the road, right? Because GDPR, that's an important part of how they control access to data and reach out, and emails are controlled. There's all these ways of communicating, Jeff, but because of the vCon, that is actually able to take it to that next level where you and I are having a human to human conversation.
Right. And then and having that conversation, then being able to then properly document it, properly manage the guardrails for whatever the legal entity is and for whatever the legal compliance is defined as. That's one of the core strengths of vCons is compliance. And maybe people don't care about compliance because they're doing things with a specific purpose. But if you're working in an industry, which by definition you have to comply and have compliance, you have compliance departments, using vCons certainly helps facilitate proving whatever you need to. I mean, in the U.S., every major state seems to be looking for new sources of revenue, whether you're the state of California, the state of Texas, or any other state that's considering. And if you just look at the lawsuits entered into in 2025, it's amazing that never been a better time perhaps than to be a regulatory attorney that is aware of compliance, that knows something about AI, because boy, there are going to be clients lining out your door. This is now the time. If you're a company who has been sued, if you're in the communications business, you want to get your act together, because these fines are only going to be going up. Last I checked, there's probably $4 billion worth of total fines collectively.
Wow.
That's been assessed, and it's just going to increase. And so we need to respect the law. And even if there are regulators who don't fully understand where AI can go, and maybe they're being overprotective, if that's such a thing, I don't know. But ignorance is no excuse. And so just know that if you happen to be working in compliance, the letters vCon are your friend.
Yes, you should embrace it, guys.
Yes. And if you want to learn about how this can be used, you can learn a lot more about vCons by going to the IETF, the Internet Engineering Task Force. There's a working group there. There's documentation there. If you want to, I have a lot of stuff over at Pulver.com and the vCon Foundation, but really the information is there. There's a community that's growing, and it crosses over from different domains. I mean, when I look at the world of AI communication, at the heart of it is that memory, which I look to be the vCon as a keeper of the memory. One other side of it is HD voice. Why? Because if you're capturing conversations, you want the best possible voice quality that you can get, and that comes from high definition voice. And then you want the guardrail in terms of managing consent and permission, if you will, and that comes from being able to manage consent and with permission. And there's a protocol called SCIT, SCITT, that stands for Supply Chain Integrity, Transparency, and Trust. At the CCA, I met another company that has their own PKI solution that looks pretty interesting in terms of managing consent. And I'm also familiar with another protocol called JLink, and the company JLink, and they also are integrated into the open source conserver, and they help manage those permissions. And so, it's now's the opportunity for people to start to understand that if they want to manage consent in a big way and have scalable, highly scalable solutions, the technology is there. The challenges are not going to go away, but now is a great time to join the AI communication industry.
Right, it is. And the fact that it's going to be the hockey stick approach, guys, everyone's been talking about it. And the second that it adapts to our US market, many of you are going to think, gosh, how come we didn't integrate faster? And so, Jeff, that's really the invitation of the upcoming vCon 2026 in Dallas, where many people will be there, not only from the development side, guys, but also from the policy side, from big game, entertainment industry. Those people are also impacted because of the evolution of vCon.
Yeah, I think over time, this is something that will transcend every type of business, whether they're in the small business, medium-sized business, large business. Until recently or recent past, only very large companies had active AI strategies because it costs a lot of money to be involved, a lot of money. But one of the highly disruptive points about the whole AI revolution is that you no longer have to invest millions of dollars in order to get the benefit. That if you're a small company, a medium company, you can get it too.
Right.
And so it's going to be 2026 is the year of change. I believe it's the year of the vCon. I believe now, no pressure to the IETF to publish the RFC for vCon. That's not an on-air. All respect, maybe it happens in 27, but the momentum is positive. It is certainly growing. And you're going to find that at the conference that I'm curating, it's a multi-generational approach in terms of the content, the people who are speaking, the people participating. We will have CIOs. We are going to have CTOs. We're going to have dreamers. We're going to have believers, people who want to understand what we can do and understand that we're truly unbounded into how a vCon implementation means for you and your company. It's up to you to figure that out. We can help you once you have those ideas, but it's your imagination that will drive the future where we all go.
Exactly. Thanks again, Jeff. And again, everyone reach out and connect, but we do have sponsorship availability. We do have some tickets left for the Dallas show, but we're going to be at Fort Lauderdale together in 2 weeks, and we'll be there with the vCon Foundation. Jeff, I can't wait to see you and Lauren. Thanks so much.
Thank you.